Hola, hola, and buenos dias, GnGs. I am Trekkw2ks. This is Weekend Crypto brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto YouTube channel. If you do not know, recently, this past Friday, the 1000th episode of Gentleman of Crypto went out, and it was a spectacular episode. I want to get that out the way. And you definitely got to go check it out. A number of folks that are warriors and as well as friends and colleagues of this thing we call the crypto industry, the blockchain industry, came through to be a part of the 1000th episode. So definitely go and check that out. Shout outs to King and Zay for making that 1000th episode. Shout outs to the rest of the folks who are part of the network that produce content that goes into the Gentleman of Crypto thing. We pretty much cover every aspect of this space, whether you want to be a trader, whether you want to be somebody into NFTs or talking about metaverse stuff. And if you don't know by now, like I do what's this thing right, sorry, it's that thing right there. Yeah, this thing up here, the weekend crypto stuff. And a couple of things that before I get into that though, like I'm saying, gratitudes and abundance of thanks and positive vibes to all the folks who are not letting this bear market, this crypto winter thing deter them from still tapping in, still checking out what's going on, still keeping up with the news, and not just letting fear or FOMO drive how they pay attention to this space. We appreciate those of you who do. We know it ain't the majority. We appreciate the core folks who've been down from day one, the folks who are getting what's going on and who are taking what myself and the other contributors of this channel, as well as King and Zay, are putting out. We appreciate. Thank y'all. It's a number of things that's in the pipes, and it's some things about to come out, y'all, and y'all really gonna be surprised how things about to step up for real. But let's jump into these stories, right? Because like I said, a couple of things that happened. One of the things I will say that I thought was I've seen a number of things pop up about Cardano, but a lot of this kind of news of promoting projection potential. Y'all know I don't do the price talk stuff. So, you know, if you're interested on that, tune in during the week. I know somebody else is going to tap in and talk about the price stuff. So let's jump on his first story. So, change of heart. Kraken closes accounts for all Russian users. If you are not aware of what was going on with the yellow and blue flag and the bear flag, they got into a situation earlier this year and a lot of sanction things, which was mainly pushed through the US, and they were able to get other countries to toe the line too. And so now apparently it's escalated even more. So, following the latest package of sanctions that the EU imposed on Russia, Kraken terminated services to Russian customers. And so the US-based cryptocurrency exchange Kraken joined a list of platforms restricting services to Russian consumers. The decision comes as a result of the latest sanctions that the European Union imposed on the largest country by landmass for its invasion of Ukraine. The largest. That's a weird way to word that. Now that I've read that over. The other trading venues that have already ended ties with Russia include blockchain.com or blockchain.com and really what? Anywho, crypto.com. But that's what happened, which also makes me wonder if this was part of what got Jesse to step down from the position he was in. And I covered this a couple of weeks back because this didn't like just happen yesterday, folks. Nonetheless, if you're not understanding what this basically is saying is that the companies that you are, let's jump real close, the companies that X amount of y'all new folks and a number of the older generation folks in the space love to kowtow is like being the greatest thing since sliced bread, and we need more companies like them, blah, blah, blah. Kraken is being the example here. Decentralized business models, they basically are towing the line because why? They're a business that operates within certain jurisdictions, right? And so when certain things start to come down the pike, what do? How do they want to save their business? And the other thing you got to understand is it isn't there aren't investor folks behind these exchanges that are like, hey, we still want to see our money come through. We still want our ROI. So you need to do what you need to do to make sure you still gonna be able to pay us our cut. So I imagine this was not done in a light decision as far as how they would follow through on this. In my mind, this just goes to show black eye on the exchanges as far as this isn't about being inclusive. This isn't about everyone getting access. And I'm gonna say that again and again. When things like this happen, it shows and highlights the thing of the path that is being taken by centralized companies, by whether they be on the financial side of the crypto space or like some kind of product or service side of it, if they run this route, this is the things that can happen to them because they are a business that operates and that is set up that way that, hey, when they get the shoulder tap, what do they got to do? All right, we got you. All right, bet. We're going to cut somebody off. Yeah. This is why crypto is not as inclusive as some folks would like to market and promote it to you. But nonetheless, this happened with Kraken. I don't know how that's going to have some of y'all feel about how y'all go with them forward, but just think about this. If they did it to them for whatever reason, what stops them from doing it to you? That's it. Like, whatever the reason is, doesn't matter. What stops them from doing it to you? Is that where you really want to hold your stuff? That's the question I ask. Jumping on to this next joint. All right. So of the number of stories that I saw popping up about Cardano, this was the one that I was like, okay, this is actually something. It's not FOMO, FUD, price talk stuff. This is actually something. So Cardano's first telemedicine app goes live, right? So Latin America, so first off, let me let y'all know that this was not up here in North America. So what is that? The United States and Canada, this ain't us. This is down in Latin America. So Cityldoc, which that's such a weird name, but whatever. Pardon me. One of the dominant telemedicine applications of the Latin American market with over 650,000 potential patients, shares the details of ADA testing in its design. So basically what happened was, here's a transaction thing that happened over the weekend where they were testing of, can we send this amount of value using ADA through the system for what our service is. This is basically saying that there was a market adoption for a payment option. That's what this is, folks. This is a payment option. And so they're integrating ADA into their payment options. That's all this is. As per a statement shared by the Cityldoc team on its main Twitter account, the platform started testing Cardano's first token, ADA, for its telemedicine services payment model. So that's all it is. For those of you who have been on the Cardano train from day one, are you still rooting hard? Hey, I guess this counts as a good thing. I guess this shows a level of mass adoption. But what we really have to see is, does this make it through a full year of being implemented and used? And then just so I want to point something out to you, this number right here is not a hard number. This is an estimate number. So we don't know what the actual adoption rate or the user base number is really going to look like. We got to give it some time within, let's come back to this like next summer, right? To see, did this really work? Did people really take into it? Were the people, as the patients, seeing this as a useful tool or a useful means of payment? Or was this just something that somebody said, hey, let's make a business together and do blah, blah, blah? Nonetheless, I'm not bashing Cardano. I'm not bashing Cardano. Honestly, this is like one of the few things that they said over the X amount of months is, oh, wow, it actually works. So this is a kudos. This is a kudos. There was some market adoption, a practical thing. But we'll see how it turns out in the next couple of months. I'm going to just jump to this next story. Next story is this. Expert cryptographer and XRP ledger legend Nick Bougalis, I know I'm messing up your name. Sorry about that. Is leaving Ripple. I'll be honest with you. I never paid attention to any of the people within Ripple outside of, what's his name, who's like the head guy who's always talking and always in dealing with the court side of stuff. But apparently this dude, Nick, big deal within the whole thing. I was reading through some of the Twitter things. A lot of folks had a lot of positive things to say about him moving on into something else. So nonetheless, it comes out on Friday. Cryptographer and software engineer Nick Bougalis, who is currently director of engineering at Ripple, announced he is leaving the California fintech firm in a few weeks. So this is the early heads up. He's making his transition. I wonder how the community will take this in regards to the pricing stuff. It is what it is. Y'all know I don't do price talk like that. What I thought was more interesting, though, was this line right here. So as for what's next, I'll talk about it when it's time, but I'm not joining another blockchain project / company, nor am I doing NFTs or DeFi. Ironically enough, when you get down to this line, it says, as far as As for God, I'm going too fast. Slow down. As for what he's going to do next, based on what he says on his personal website and on GitHub, it seems plausible that he might be forming a startup that develops cryptographic solutions for use in the blockchain space. That's a very big hypothetical, but I do imagine that he will have a number of people watching him because he is a talented cryptographer, as well as he was very instrumental within the XRP development process, right? And so it will be interesting to see, where does he end up come next year, because we're pretty much like 2 months away from the end of the year at this point. So where does he end up next year? That's going to be the question. I don't know. There is a hypothesis he might be doing a startup. We'll see. Time tells. For all you XRP fans, sorry for your loss. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Jump into this next joint. When I seen this, I was just like, what are we doing, folks? What are we doing? The names Sheeb, Bone, and Leash. It be some days I just can't with the space. I swear it be some days I just can't with the space. But nonetheless, this is what actually came out over this weekend. This is on Friday. Where was the line that was the most relevant part? French Connection Finance is a DeFi protocol, a DeFi payment protocol that was launched last year. So this came out during the C19 era, okay? The Canadian-based payment company announced that its Visa cardholders will now be able to pay on top e-commerce platform Amazon and streaming platform Netflix. Since the Sheeb, Bone, and Leash were already part of the FCF ecosystem long before this, it means that the holders will now be able to pay using their tokens. So in short, payment rail. And this means that this is basically like a BitPay card back in the day. This is basically like a Coinbase card back in the day, where you had whatever token or coin thing you had on there, and then you converted it into the USD side to pay for the thing. But what I think will be the upgrade on this joint for how they're doing it is they're automatically doing the conversion for you. So that's a cool thing. I'm not going to lie. That's some dope adoption. It is. Because what this really means is you now are having an easier time in being able to spend different currencies based on what the local pricing, the local currency unit is, like whatever you're buying in. So I'm gonna put this in context for the folks who travel internationally. Y'all understand what I'm talking about, where when you go someplace and you are purchasing something and you have either your home country money or you have X amount of what's there, what the local currency is. This on the digital sense is what you was already doing with your debit and credit cards, but now we're adding crypto into the mix to have that automatic conversion. So now you don't got to worry about that part, or at least that's what I'm assuming, because I actually don't know how that system that they have works, but I would hope that it's like that, because that would definitely be X amount more convenient. And then it goes into this whole adoption thing. Now, granted, I might not be a fan of some other platforms that are doing certain things, but this sounds cool. If we're talking about, and I'm making a distinction, I'm going on record about this. Let me stop beating the horse. The last comment on this is, there is a difference between mass adoption and what is commercially viable. If the thing is commercially viable, it gets pushed towards mass adoption. A lot of what we're seeing right here, as far as the adoption thing, is the commercially viable side of the software or the hardware that has the basic feature or has a easier convenience of use feature that is easier to sell to people, that is easier to get the everyday average person to use it. That's what mass adoption means, folks. That's what's being pushed here. I'm not knocking this. If you already use this system, if you're in Canada, this is a good thing for you, I guess, to say. Oh, what is it? Not really relevant right now. I explained the other part of it, but if you're interested in following up, I meant to say the links for this will be in the description. The links for this will be in the description, so you can go through and read the full articles as you please. This one, I'm not even going to run through the whole thing, and I'm just going to sum this up to say this. So, UK seeks to introduce measures to regulate crypto ads and ban unauthorized providers. Now, I was reading through this, and let me go with this highlighted part first. The government of the United Kingdom has introduced new legislation measures to control cryptocurrency advertisements and prohibit unlicensed crypto providers from providing their services. When I first read this, because I was getting confused in this section here. So basically, there's a thing about, hey, we don't want just rampant, unregulated advertisement from whoever Tom, Dick, and Harry person says that they're crypto related. And that's what I thought about it as first, because then they get into this part in the article where they talk about how the European Union has already started implementing stuff via the Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation, which is MiCA. Pardon. What got me was, as I started thinking about it more and I'm trying to read through it again, what I realized what they're doing is, by capping the advertisement side of it and by making legislation that looks to curtail non-regulated entities, right? What they're doing is they're funneling and controlling who can talk about crypto and what message and narrative gets promoted. So if you a business who's doing some privacy stuff or some really actual like censorship resistant stuff, guess what? You're not going to be able to advertise, because how you going to be a registered business with them when your whole thing is based on full on being censorship resistant and being like decentralized in that sense? I'm giving my little interpretation on this particular article, and that's what I'm taking away from it. What they're doing is they're controlling ahead of time by putting in the regulations now who's allowed to talk about crypto, where they will be able to talk about it, and when it doesn't go in line with compliance, transportation laws, KYC, and all that stuff, people are going to be getting shoulder taps. People are going to get investigated. Companies are going to get investigated. Things like that are going to happen. But that's just me. I'm some bald-headed guy on the internet. Remember that. This ain't financial advice. This is just me and how I see a couple of things. So last story being is this. Hackers drained 300,000 from Olympus DAO on bond protocol. So it's not a complicated story, at least for how they write it down in here, but it does give me question. So a hacker stole 300,000, right? Sorry, 300,000 from DeFi protocol Olympus DAO in a security exploit today. The hacker later returned all of the funds following a negotiated deal. What I find really weird for how the block covered this is, they don't talk about what the deal is. Why would you not talk about what the deal is? Also, other thing to note, this is not the first time there's been like a negotiated return, which I'm starting to question what the hell that's all about. This whole negotiation return stuff. Like, I don't know. Also, I will say I didn't read into the whole thing as far as like digging in on the hyperlinks and none of that. But I'm just throwing this out there. If you're somebody who messed with Olympus DAO, this is what happened. They said that their other stuff is safe as far as the other couple $100 million that they had on there. Believe it if you want to. It's all an experiment. The other thing to note is, what is it? The way that this person did, or the person or team did this, is that they did an exploit on the bond protocol, and the bond protocol was not actually written by Olympus DAO. It just happened to be a protocol that they used in their thing that also had the OHM token on there. So it isn't directly Olympus's fault. Just I want to make that distinction about that, because I did look on Twitter just to see, all right, who's what in this scenario. But I still do find it weird that the person returned everything after a negotiation deal, whatever that means. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say expect more stuff like this to come out going into the holidays. Expect more of this to be going on next year, where there's going to be like hacks and then returns. There's a, you know what, I'm not even going to say that here. Nonetheless, I'm closing it out. That was the last story of things that happened. Again, the way that I look at this stuff for the weekend crypto news is getting like what happened, not price talk FUD stuff. Y'all can find that anywhere, I promise you. It's all over the place on the YouTube, right? But nonetheless, that's the end of that. say a couple of things. One, I'm doing the Wevolution Twitter Spaces on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. That's me, CB, Yoga Boss, and Crypto BJ. And then on Thursdays, I do Metaverses, the Cliff Notes to Web3 with my dude 3D. That's at 8 p.m. That's East Coast time. Both of those are East Coast time. So easiest thing to do is just find my account, Trekkw2ks, just like the name says right there, and you'll see some post about these Twitter Spaces. The other thing to know, speaking at the Crypto Mindset Reset virtual conference, November 8th and 9th. And what am I doing? Oh, and we're doing a Metaverse hackathon, and that's me and 3D to put that together. If you're interested, you win some BTC off of it. It ain't no Lambo numbers. It definitely ain't no Lambo numbers, but it is an actual hackathon in a metaverse. If you're into Uplift or Minecraft, it's in that kind of ecosystem. And yeah, we got 2 challenges. If you're interested, search hashtag meta caching, METAACHING. And yeah, that'll get you to where the stuff is posted as far as the rules and everything like that. But nonetheless, it is a Monday. I hope y'all have a productive over a busy week or a busy day. If you can't have that happen for at least the day or the week, at least be in good company and at least be in a safe space, positive vibes. And again, thank y'all for tapping in. Thank y'all for coming back. I do appreciate, and so does the rest of the folks on the Gentlemen of Crypto. All right, y'all. 1.